Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Mirror Moments. And today we have a very special guest with us, that is Farishta. I and Farishta met in 2017 with during an Asia Pacific Youth Conference, and since then we have been in touch. It has been on and off, but I have known her. She has come to my place, and we have a great bond. And I think her story is something so inspiring to me, and I'm sure it's going to be for everyone. So welcome to the podcast, Farishta.
Thank you so much, Ripple, for having me. It's a privilege to be here. And just to briefly introduce myself, hello, everyone. My name is Farishta, and right now I am in the US, in Virginia, and I'm working in a vocational college as a student services administrator. I have done my master's in education policies via Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters program, both in Spain and in the UK in Glasgow. And I'm so glad that initiatives of change made it possible for me to meet Ripple in Gujarat. And I had a beautiful experience there. Even last night with one of my friends from India, I talked about you. I said that
Wow.
he was from Gujarat, and I said I had a roommate from Gujarat, and I went to Gujarat, and I love India. I had a great experience.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So that is absolutely true, Farishta. And we had a great time. So originally you are from Afghanistan, right? And that is something very interesting part that over the years in your life you have traveled a lot, right? You have done your course in Bangladesh, then you right now you're in USA, your parents are in Turkey, right? Your siblings are in different countries in Australia, in Sweden. So all your family are in different parts of the world. So before that, can you take us back to your early life in Afghanistan? How was it growing up there with all your siblings, with all your family over there?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, of course, unfortunately, I would say that I never had like the chance to live like longer in my country in Afghanistan. So like as soon as I was born, like after some time, like we migrated to Pakistan. That was when first the Taliban gained power in Afghanistan. In yeah, so I have lived most of my life, my like childhood life in Pakistan, and I was deprived of like that experience of living in my own country, like having my childhood there. So I can definitely talk about my experience in Pakistan. Growing up there, of course, life was difficult because we had to start life from scratch, and my parents had to work really hard to make it possible for us to get education and just like our basic needs, especially the first few years. But later on, like, of course, we as a family, we worked hard to like make it happen so that like our education and other opportunities are like possible for us. But meanwhile, that also means that we had to go through a lot of challenges because in a new country, you have to learn a new language, you have to
Yeah.
learn like the laws, you have to learn like the societal norms. So there are some expectations as well. So as a refugee, there were some like limitations as well, but I'm also grateful that we had a lot of great opportunities that made me the person I am today.
Yeah, that is very interesting, right? Like most of the time you have lived away from your homeland, that is Afghanistan, right? And you have to maybe for different opportunities or migration or any sort of other issues. So I think it would have been really a great challenge for your parents mostly, right? Like to leaving Afghanistan because they must be in maybe in their 30s or late 20s, and that so they have spent their like most of the childhood in Afghanistan. So what was like the most challenging part, like leaving your homeland? And right now also like you all are in different parts of the countries, and there is a chance that you might never be able to go back there, right? So what is the biggest challenge right now?
Like I would say that, of course, like for me, the biggest challenge is that whenever I'm thinking about my country or like people from Afghanistan, especially women in Afghanistan, it just breaks my heart knowing that they don't have access to secondary education, they don't have access to university education or going to college, they don't have like work opportunities. So literally everything is banned for them. They are like kind of like living life, but they don't really have a life. So that
Mhm.
breaks my heart. And also, apart from that, like just generally for Afghan women, like life is hard and people are going through a lot of difficulties. So that also makes me, to reflect about when my parents were like growing up in Afghanistan. So for them, I like mostly like told us that there were like challenges. For example, they had to my father had to take care of like his family, work hard, even though he had the love for education. He wanted to go to school, but unfortunately, he never had the chance to go to school. So
Wow.
one thing that I am always grateful is that like my father and my mother, like they didn't have the chance to go to school, but they made it possible for us. Like just going through all the difficulties and challenges, no matter what, like, even if that meant to work hard during the night, like stay up late, but making it possible that we go to school and we didn't have to go through what they went through. So that is very precious for me. That is very valuable. I think in words, I would never be able to just, express my gratitude.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I would also really like to quote the line which you said that like people in Afghanistan are living, but they don't actually have lives, right? I think that's what you said, right? They're just living,
Yeah.
just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, like, the way your parents have struggled and like, right now you're in USA, right? And you have done your masters, you have like have the scholarship, right, to do this program. It was only possible because of the background of education which you had. So how your perspective like has changed now you're in USA because it's completely different from the country you were in or you have been there. So how your perspectives have changed right now being in USA.
So my perspective about life and opportunities, absolutely, it has changed because every time, like I remind myself, that you have a privilege here. You have the freedom here. You have all the opportunities here. If you want to work somewhere, no one is there to stop you. Like this is something I like tell myself, I remind myself. If I have to learn a new skill, no one is, going to stop me from doing that. So I'm not taking granted the freedom that I have, the privilege that I have. But meanwhile, I cannot stop thinking about the Afghan women. And that makes me also think that it's so hard not to have a choice. So for Afghan women, they are not having a choice. Like they have to do what they're told to do. But for us, we have a choice. I have a choice to, like, go outside, learn a new skill, and I have a choice not to. I am the one deciding. Whereas for them, they are not deciding. Everything is decided for them. And it's so like hard to even accept that reality. But the Afghan women are living in that reality. So for me, like frequently like having that reflection, I feel really blessed that I am having this opportunity right now, but I'm also constantly reminding myself that there are things I can do as an individual, like speaking up for the women of Afghanistan, speaking up for their right, like being their voices to the platforms that I can. So and also like the Afghan community that we have here, like I'm trying like from my end to support them, whether that's their personal goal, whether that's their career goals. So from my experiences, I try to like share that knowledge or experiences with them. Even with my work that I'm doing right now, like a big group of like students are from Afghanistan. So
Mhm.
I make it like like that's my priority to
Mhm.
just support them in any way so that they don't feel that they are alone in this new country, because on top of like all the challenges that they are going through, I, as an individual, as somebody from their country, want to make them feel that they have a support here, like they're not alone.
That is it is so inspiring to just to hear you out, and the few things which you said, that you actually recognize the privilege, that freedom which you have right now, and the freedom of choice especially. And a lot of people don't have it, especially in Afghan women, they don't have that freedom. And it is so important that in this world, like, we just keep living our life, like, without recognizing that privilege, without recognizing that freedom of choice which we have right now. And I've read this beautiful quote where it says, like, empathy is when you realize that the only thing which is separates you and the other person is only your luck, right? You could be that person, but maybe you're just lucky enough that you were able to, like, go to a different place, or born in a different family, or not be in that place where the government is so cruel. So and that is so important, to have that respect, that okay, you have this choice of just like doing good for others. Like you said, that you have been working, like you have this thing about for doing something for the Afghan women, right? And to help them in any certain way. So can you, like, tell me, like, any was there any particular moment which made you really passionate about to advocate like women's empowerment?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I would definitely add that my mother, he has always been like a role model for me. And as I mentioned, that for her, like not going to school, not having that opportunity, but just making sure that we have all the like opportunities, or, we have all the support. That is like so, like, I just admire that a lot. I admire her personality. So that is one thing that made me realize, it made me passionate about women empowerment and working for women, because we have so much potentials. We just need to be provided like the opportunities.
Yeah.
So, and apart from that, when I was in Afghanistan, like when I graduated from my university from Bangladesh, that time it was COVID, like to Corona time, and there were a lot of restrictions. So we were part of an initiative, and we started cycling. And our aim behind the cycling was to promote like a healthy lifestyle, like to promote like a good air, of course, in the environment,
You
and
started, sorry to
promote.
cut you off, you started this in Afghanistan.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
I
yes.
started like this initiative. There was a foundation called Rahila Foundation, and where we were basically helping the underserved like community, especially to access education, like literacy classes, computer classes. But also during that time, we started this initiative of like cycling. So we were just few individuals, and then it grew up to like 100. So that was very inspiring. And we were cycling around the city, especially in the capital, in Kabul. We wanted to promote like cycling for female as well. And it was so fascinating to see that so many girls also joined like that initiative. And every weekend, like we were going to a park, just cycling. And even also, I noticed that initially when we started, like we were receiving some negative comments from the people, right? Because
Mm,
we were women, we were cycling. So it was
yeah,
not acceptable for them. But later on, I I saw that their comment also changed, and they were appreciating us. I mean, of course, we cannot ignore that there are some people who will always give bad comments, but
absolutely.
there were a lot of people who were encouraging us, who were like, who were inspired to see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I even, mhm.
Yeah, I was saying that, like, at times, like, freedom often triggers people, right? Seeing someone free
Yeah,
doing something, it often triggers people, and there is going to be some negative comments and negative thoughts about it.
yeah, yes. Just one more thing to add. I think that's very special for me too.
Hmm.
That even my father, like, he would tell me, let's go cycle to, like, for example, a particular space, a particular location. So I admire that so much. Like, it doesn't come from all the men in Afghanistan.
Of
So for
course.
him, allowing me to cycle with him with so much joy, that is very precious. Those
Wow.
days, and like of course throughout, like he has always like treated me as equally. Never felt that, just because we are women, like, we are treated differently.
That is so beautiful. Like, when you said that your father did not go to school, but the real education is not comes from, the books. It comes from the way you think, right? How liberal your thinking is, how you activate your choice, the decisions you make in life. And I think your parents decided they were committed to, bring that equality in your home, and that is why you're able to do it for other people right now. So, Farishta,
Absolutely.
like, I think, like, moving to Afghanistan and like staying in Pakistan and also like, studying in Bangladesh and now in USA, did you see any major culture shifts happening over there, like which you have experienced?
Yes, absolutely. There are like a lot to add, but of course, some of the major like cultural shifts I would say is that, like, of course, when I came to the US, something that I noticed was that like US society is like a very individualized society. So, individuals, they have their own freedom, like they make their own decisions. Whereas in Afghanistan, for example, it's a very family oriented, like society plays a big role in the lifestyle of individuals. Even in the like big decisions for the children, like families play a big part, whereas it's different in the US. Also, I noticed that in the US, for example, like when it comes to relationships, also it's different, like because it is individualized society. So
Yeah.
individuals prefer to have their own like freedom and their own lifestyle. Maybe sometimes like depending on their availability, or where they are in their life, like relationship can have some distance.
Hmm.
But like in Afghanistan, for us, like mostly you will see that children are living with their parents, unless like there is the time for them to get married. Okay, the girls will, go, and they will go to their like in-laws. And for the sons, like mostly like they just get married, and then the wife will be staying with them. But of course, it doesn't mean that it has not changed. It has changed. But I think basically what I'm trying to say is that like family plays a big role in the life of like people from Afghanistan. And that is a little different here in the US.
Yeah,
Like
that is,
families,
yeah, and it's true for India as well. I mean,
yeah.
you're like, if you want to, like, meet your family, there is no, like, you don't have to wait for a weekend or you don't have to, like, take up any appointment to call them or, like, do such certain things. And even like right now with, the people are staying after marriage, they prefer to stay alone with their own family. And I absolutely support that. That's absolutely fine. But if you will still see, the bonding of the family, it's much more even like so like in Afghanistan or maybe India and all these countries are where family plays a very big role in a lot of in our lives. Like we have to think for them, we think about them, we are there for each other. So yeah, and yeah, the sense of individuality, it's I think that is all I think that's like a plus point over there, right? Like people are more into individual, people don't really care about like what others think or something. They have more about like
Mhm.
what they wish to do in their lives. Right.
Yeah. I also just want to add that, of course, like it has its own benefits as well, because like in the American society, like they are emphasizing on the individualism, because individuals can be like independent, children from like, let's say, uh, age of 18 or 19, like they start their own life, for example, and they had to take care of like
Mhm.
many responsibilities and the realities of life. So it is a little different back in Afghanistan. So it has both like pros and cons for
Of
me, I
course.
think. But of course, there's always like a way for, like growth, like ways to learn. And I think it's crucial to maintain like that balance. So for me as an
Yeah.
individual,
Mhm.
I I think that it's important to have like our independency, like make our own decisions, but also like being a family oriented, like having those strong ties and relationship with family, that's also very, very important. So
Yes,
these
yes.
cultural shifts also remind me of like the cultural norms back home,
Ah,
you know?
and what to value more. And
Exactly,
not
what
to
to
let go
value.
of that norms, so it just make you feel like accept the great things here, but also remember that the great things back home to just bring it over here where you're staying.
Yeah. Also, to add one more thing, it also reminds me, about gratitude and appreciation. Because, of course, back home, you just have these all things, right? Like there's family, like you live with them, there's society, you go, you hang out with them. So you don't really think about those little things. But right now, when I think and when I reflect, there are little things I miss about my country, like the food on the streets, for example, the interaction with the people, like the music that you hear outside.
Ah, yes.
So the gatherings, like, yeah, all of those little things. So
Festival.
I think, yeah, the festivals. So right now it's more that, okay, I'm appreciating my experiences there, but also I have this sense of gratitude
Yeah.
that, like, I had those experiences, and also in the stage that I am right now, like, the great and amazing people that I encounter on daily basis.
Yeah.
So I appreciate those too.
Yeah.
I'm not taking those things for granted.
Of course, of course. It's always important to like recognize and appreciate the opportunities which we have right now, right? And where we are able to stay and maybe earn for our own self. So that's really important. So Farishta, you have like looking at your journey. I'm sure like I see you as a someone who has great resilience. The mental strength. So how is that like? How it has impacted your strength? Where does that strength come from, and how it has like changed you in a way? Because I'm sure like facing a lot of things like shifting your family to Afghanistan to Turkey, your siblings staying in all over the world, and you may be not able to meet your parents more often, or the whole family together. I'm sure there's a lot of you recognize the good things about it. You recognize the opportunity, you recognize the freedom, you recognize what you have right now. But I'm sure it also has comes with a lot of like dealing to having that strength, having that resilience power. So, how your journey has impacted that?
That's so crucial question, of course. It's not easy, Ripple. It's difficult to, like go through those emotional challenges, or like taking care of our mental health or mental well-being. I think like for me, when I first came to the US in 2022, I had difficult time as well because I was away from my family. Of course, I'm very grateful that my sister was here, but it took me some time to overcome those challenges of like having separation with my parents, like and other family members, and just being new to a country where I had to learn like everything. Of course, I know that like language was not a big barrier for me. Whereas like in Turkey, I didn't know the language. So I understood, not knowing the language is such a big barrier, and you cannot like integrate in that society or in that community. So I am blessed. I felt blessed that language was not a barrier for me. But of course, knowing the language doesn't mean that like we know about the society, right? About the norms
Sure.
or about the laws.
Yes.
So it also meant for me to start life from nothing, like we start life from scratch, looking for opportunities. So the first few months, it was difficult for me. But I think I am so glad that right now I can say that I overcome those challenges because I made myself, like reflect on my experiences back home and other countries, and also say that like life is, of course, challenges are part of life. So if I look at like these challenges in that way, that or like why am I the one going through these challenges, like why other people are not, or why is my problem so big? I think that kind of mindset will only like take all my energy, like it will drain me. I think it did. But right now it's more of like looking at the positive aspect of life or all the blessings that I have. So more of like counting my blessings than to think about my problems. It's
Yeah,
like, okay,
that is actually really beautiful. But I would also like to add something that, at times it's also okay to like just be in that emotions and feel those emotions. Because I'm sure that there would be, no matter how much gratitude we have, there would be times where you are like, you're feeling a little low, where you just want to have that maybe a family with you, or you may be confused in life, right? So it's always okay. Sometimes it's always fine to like just be with those emotions, right? But it's always very important to like you said, to channelize those emotions, channelize those feelings into something much bigger in life, so those emotions doesn't put you down. It just stays for
mhm.
a while, and it just, then you take a shift from those. It might, visit again, but then you know how to take a shift, right? You know how to like just put that aside and just focus on maybe different things.
Yeah, beautifully said. Just want to add one more thing, Ripple. Definitely. We have to feel our emotions. So I think one thing that I learned when I came to the US in particular was just feeling my emotions. Even now as well, it's like, okay, if there is a difficulty, if there is a challenge, I try to feel that. It's not that I'm trying to escape from that. But I think meanwhile, I do remind myself that, it's not end of the world. You
Yes,
will go through these challenges, like you will face the challenges, and it will go away, so yeah, whether happiness, whether sadness, challenges,
yeah,
so there's a phase in life, like it will come to you, but it will also go.
it
It
will
doesn't mean
go.
that we will all stay happy forever. So there are like different like ups and downs in life. I think just having that mindset and like going with that mindset, it really helps to like just stay calm and peaceful.
That's true. That's very true. So I'll have like one last question for you. So actually, I have two questions. So the first is there any message you would want to share with women? I would not limit the women of Afghanistan, but all around the world, where they are restricted by society's norms. And I know this happens a lot in many countries, in many regions. So can you tell like a one statement? What would be like one single statement, one message for them?
Yeah, I would just say that you have all the potentials. Just explore your potentials and never ever let anyone to define the capacity that you have. Never let anyone put you down because you are powerful, you are unstoppable.
Wow, that was very crisp, very clear, and very powerful. Okay, so
Thank
my
you.
last question will be, if you could tell your younger self in Afghanistan one thing, what would it be? I know it would must be like very difficult to imagine like that younger self living in Afghanistan and you being here. What would be like one thing which you would want to tell her?
I would tell her that, just follow your passion, go for whatever you love to do in life, like never let like society kind of stop you from your dreams because you can achieve them. You have like all the strength. Yeah, just go for your dreams. Like follow your passion, follow your dreams.
Follow your passion. Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful, Farishta. And I think we had some pretty great discussions, and the whole conversation was very motivating, inspiring. And I'm sure like whoever is going to listen to this, and even to listen a piece of this, it's going to learn, it's going to get inspired a lot. And I'm really grateful for you to like join me here and to share your story, to share all these beautiful important things of your journey, of your life, of your family. So I'm very grateful to have you over here.
Thank you so much, Ripple, for this opportunity. Absolutely. I am so glad to be here and share my experiences. And I really hope that this life experience and like whatever I shared will in any way, like, motivate or give encouragement to anyone listening to this.
Yes, of course. I'm sure it will. I'm 100% sure it will. So thank you so much, everyone. And please share and subscribe the channel for more episodes like this. And thank you, Farishta, one more time. And it's been great having this interaction with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.